Hello, SEH students. This is Mr. Fleming. So I just want to review real quick. So this topic 3.1 basically is introducing sugars, fats, and proteins. And you guys did a reading on sugars, but let's just make sure that we got it. So this is a good way to maybe summarize. So 3.15 wants us to be able to explain how glucose molecules can combine to form things called disaccharides and polysaccharides. So let's just draw glucose like real simple. If you remember when you had to do that practice drawing glucose, glucose is a hexagon shaped monosaccharide. So this is a mono. I'm going to be super lazy and just write mono, not, I'll write the whole thing, saccharide. So that's an example of a saccharide. So we can join glucose, for example, to another glucose molecule. There's an oxygen in the middle. To another glucose molecule. So two glucoses form a molecule called maltose. Maltose is an example of a disaccharide. Di means two, so it's composed of two molecules of glucose. We can combine glucose with other molecules and get other types of disaccharides. So, for example, if it's a glucose plus a molecule called galactose, so if this one, for example, is galactose, then we get a disaccharide called lactose. If, for example, we combine glucose with a different type of monosaccharide, so let's say, for example, this one isn't glucose, but it's a molecule called fructose, then we get a disaccharide called sucrose. So there are three different disaccharides that you should know. So those are maltose, lactose, and sucrose. Then, if we want, we can combine many glucoses together. So there's a molecule of glucose. I'm not drawing the oxygen anymore, just lazy. Another molecule of glucose to a third molecule of glucose to a fourth molecule of glucose to a fifth molecule of glucose, and so on. So this chain can go on for a very long time, and these are our polysaccharides. Examples of polysaccharides are cellulose. So that's a part that makes up fiber in plants. And another important one that we're going to talk about is glycogen. So this is how animals store their carbohydrates. And a third type of polysaccharide, which we see in foods, is something called starch. So we see starch in things like pastas and chips and French fries and all that good stuff, potatoes. So yeah, I want to talk about one more thing before we end with this little review on sugars, on carbohydrates. So this bond right here, when we connect two glucose molecules, or if we connect many glucose molecules, so all these little connections right here, where they connect, are formed by a condensation reaction. So condensation. So that is the reaction that joins these two molecules together. And that's also important to remember. So that's it for our carbohydrate slash saccharide slash sugar. All three of those terms I often use interchangeably. That's the carbohydrate review, and